Today is Saturday, December 1st, 2018. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Stacy, and this is the listener feedback show for Survivor David versus Goliath, episode 10, week 10, an amazing double episode, a rare occurrence indeed in that we got a double episode and it was jam-packed with good. It wasn't just a moving along kind of episode. So we've got, I believe, 16 Survivor super fans showed up here for the listener feedback show. That's where we turn the reins over to you, the super fans. We do our recap on Wednesdays, and then it's your turn on Saturdays to sound off what you saw, bring some particular analysis from your specific walk in life, and then maybe some predictions for what we can expect next to help us with our fantasy league here, of course. All right, first up, we got a call from Pete.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is Pete from Boston calling here, and I gotta let out a great big woo! That was an awesome double boot episode. Usually a double boot episode is a huge build up, but in the end it's predictable outcomes. But this was anything but that, I gotta say. Both episodes. Even though Alex's vote was unanimous, it was anything but. This had a lot of great challenges, a lot of great gameplay, a lot of bad gameplay, The Godfather, the cow. But it was a great episode, though. And I gotta say, guys, Kyle really, got his hands full there. The beers, dilly-dillies there, clearly got to his head, telling Kara and Mike, of all people, way too much info. Why would you think they would flip on their alliance? That's what happens when you think you have power and all that. He went out very graciously, too. I don't think he's going to be bitter. Alec fought the whole game. He did great in challenges. He was maybe the strongest player physically, aside from maybe John. And, I got to say, he held his own in every challenge. And hats off to Christian for pulling that out there. I never thought he'd win a challenge. And you had him and Davey win a challenge, too. So we had two Davids that won a challenge, which is even better. But I got to say, guys, here's a couple of stats for you. First of all, that challenge with Christian and Alec that went 5.5 hours. I think everyone knows the longest challenge that ever went was the finale in Palau with Tom Westman and Ian that went, I think they went, 10 hours or whatever it was, maybe more than that. It went all night. And also way back in Survivor Africa, it was a T-Bird on an endurance challenge with Clarence Black. And I think that lasted 9 hours or something, and they did rock, paper, scissors, and T-Bird ended up winning. So it's crazy that this challenge went 5.5 hours. Great job by Christian. Gabby is Gabby, being an emotional wreck, but even she made her move there too with Christian, and she outsmarted Kyle too. I think it's anyone's game, guys, for the taking. Mike is playing double agent now, and then Angelina, how about her move with a Probst there with the negotiation with the rice? That was awesome, and all the tribe seemed to love it. I think she's starting to get a redemption arc a little bit. She may surprise people. I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? Angelina, now, if she works it right, may be able to persuade some jury votes. We'll see what happens. But I really like Christian and Nick, though. Can't wait for the loved ones next week. I'll probably drop some water in my eye, if you know what I mean, with the tears rolling. Can't wait for next week, though. Loving this season. Woo!
Whoa. All right. Thanks, Pete. You know what's so interesting about Angelina, and you can see a bit of a redemption arc, and they seem to be giving her legitimate praise for the negotiation, although I felt like, and I think some other folks are going to comment on it, the version that we got as the viewer wasn't in praise of her negotiation skills. She looked like she was a buffoon. She just looked goofy, and I thought Allison was actually taking a dig at her with what she said about great negotiation, because she didn't really negotiate anything other than giving up her shot at immunity in the end. But in the extra videos, other folks did praise her, although Kara was clear to point out that she didn't think it would actually do her any good. And if there's any doubt about Angelina being able to pull votes, there's an extra video with Nick, and he's talking about her value to his game and how they're both helping each other and how they have this fake relationship that they established, way back when they were on the Jabini tribe. And he makes it really clear, though, she's not going to get votes. There's no respect for her. He calls her fake and some other things, and you can just tell that whatever she was selling, it did not work out there. And I wonder how, I've always thought this was potentially one of the most challenging aspects of being on there, is going on and sort of having your version of you, at least the version you brought to the game, completely destroyed by the other players. Being fine with you outside the context of the game, but in the game, just coming across as having no intrinsic value at all and being a bit of a joke in that regard. And it's interesting to get to see her view of things versus their view of things and the contrast there. So while it may look like it's turning around a little bit for her, I would say from the extra videos, they were very thankful, but I don't think she's any more valued in the game. She's viewed as a GOAT. Nick's very clear that she has value. He wants to go to the end with her because he fully believes she will get absolutely no votes at a final tribal council. All right, thanks, Pete. Good job. Next up, we got an email from Christiana in Boston. Christiana says, "Hi, Joanne and Stacy. First off, I'm sorry to hear about the loss in your family. I wish you both the best, and I'm thinking of you this holiday season." Thank you, Christiana. We had another great episode this week. I have a fun Survivor game. Every time someone refers to Carl as the Godfather, take a shot. You'll be asleep by the reward feast. That first immunity challenge with Christian versus Alec was a true David versus Goliath showdown. Alec certainly thought there was no way anyone would beat him, but yet in the end the nerd prevailed and the strong, flirty bartender was voted out unanimously. He seemed to be in good spirits, though, so I'm still genuinely confused about the NDA situation. I think I am too, Christiana. I think it's boiling down to just a superior jughead move on his part, and it's really unfortunate because there was probably a really decent chance he would come back. But, yeah. Okay, carrying on. I think it's interesting that Angelina has managed to fade somewhat into the background of alliances and fill Gabby's role. I feel like that is the best move she could have made in her position. But just when she seems like she's mellowed out, there she is again, building her survivor resume that I don't think she'll ever need. My only thought is that given how intelligent she is, I wonder if she knew how that would play out and wanted to set herself up to take a fall for the tribe and buy some goodwill. That's an interesting look at it. Finally, my USB Gabby had probably her strongest episode so far. Like you mentioned, Mike's comments about people following Gabby into battle may have been a foreshadowing of what is going to happen later in the merge. I'm thinking Allison, Gabby, and Christian will be the final three, with Christian ultimately winning, but maybe they can each garner some votes since they all played very different games. That is all for this week. Looking forward to hearing what all the other listeners have to say. Thanks, Christiana. I think it's going to be interesting if Christian lasts that long. Next up, we got a call from Shea.
Hey guys, it's Shea. It's early Saturday morning. I've just woken up and I wanted to call in mainly to say to Joanne how very sorry I am. I really don't even have words to describe it. Like, my brothers and I are all very close, and I can't imagine. And I just wanted to tell you that I've been thinking about you all week. My boss just lost her sister this month. She's the one I usually talk about Survivor with, but she hasn't been watching any of the season. And she asked me this week when she came back to work how it was. And I told her that unlike a lot of the fans on the podcast who remember the names of people and the countries they were in and every season. That isn't how it is for me, really. I've watched every season there's ever been, but only a few stand out to me, and that would be the first one. The second one in Australia with all the flooding. Rupert and him stealing shoes. Rob and Amber falling in love, and, of course, Russell Hantz. And this season, for me, stacks right up there. I mean, it's definitely top 5 for me. I'll never forget the season. I've enjoyed it, and this last episode was just stellar. The gameplay is at such a high level, and there really isn't anyone that I wouldn't be okay with seeing win. I mean, there are people that I like better than others, but I think everybody's really trying to play. I've really, really enjoyed all the challenges. I think my favorite part was watching Carl lay on the sand on his stomach and still try to figure out how to sip a beer, and it was showing his face up close and his eyes were rolling back in his head, and it reminded me of a baby when it's milk drunk, where it's just barely sucking on the bottle anymore, and it's about to fall asleep, but it'll wake up just enough to try to drink a little bit more. It cracked me up. That was hilarious. I was glad to see the people that went leave, and I'm glad the people that are still in it are still in it. Anyway, I'll go before I end up at 7 minutes long. I cannot wait to hear what everybody else has to say. I know I get it every week, but it's true. All right, you guys have a good day. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Shea. Good job. And thank you for your condolences. Next up, we got an email from Tina in Virginia. Hello, Joanne and Stacy. I'm sorry to hear about Joanne's brother's passing. Joanne, I hope you're getting the support from your Triple F Alliance, your family, your friends, and fans. As a fan of yours, I know how hard it is when a family member passes away, and I care about what you're going through. Thank you very much. Stacy's doing a good job carrying on, although your voice is missed. And I write this email in support of you both and the commitment you have to the podcast. Thank you. I love this episode. I love this double episode. Last week I was torn between what was worse, Gabby crying or Dan sulking. Now I have to add a third person to the list, and that is Carl being drunk. Carl loved beer so much he may be promoted to Supreme Court Justice. Just an inside joke for those listening from outside the U.S. My order on what would be harder to handle is number 1, Dan sulking, number 2, Carl drunkenness, and 3, Gabby crying. What is your order of the worst behavior to have to put up with out of all these? I think I'm going to have the hardest time probably with the Gabby crying. It's not just Gabby crying, it's Gabby crying and whining, because she does the voice thing when she has her crying moments, at least the ones that they share. And then I'll go with number 2 with Dan sulking, because the man baby sulking thing. Ugh. And Carl drunkenness, I would probably just ignore. I'd let him go off and do his own thing. He looks like he'd be happy talking to himself. Anyway, it is better for Carl to be drunk on the beach rather than behind the wheel of his truck. Amen to that. But if I do see him driving on the highway during my summer road trip to Wyoming, I may stay a little clear of him and just give him plenty of space, just in case. I'd say that would be a wise choice. I love Davey's comment on getting his black card back. I've lost a card or two in life, and they are not easy to get back. I do love Davey's attitude and enjoy his scenes and conversations. He's one of my favorites. Yeah, he's got some great extra scenes where he's just going to town about all that, too. Moving on to lawyer Nick. Will Nick now fall back on his rock star alliance with Mike since he was left out of the Carl vote? I'm not sure that Christian and his team did the right thing, leaving out some of the Davids on the Carl vote. Stacy, I did notice Nick wearing John's jacket. Nick does seem to have a kleptomaniac tendencies. I also noticed him wearing Jessica's yellow scarf after she was voted off. I was a little surprised that Nick sat on the immunity challenge for the nachos, but then again, I do remember him commenting about how easy it is not to work hard while his tribe was building the shelter. So in addition to having klepto tendencies, he may also have lazy tendencies, but I still love him, and he did look very cute with the yellow scarf. All the best. Thanks, Tina. There's several good videos, extra videos, and they did deliver on the extra videos this week. It's a double set, so you get 20 plus for each of the episodes. And to your point about him being klepto, it sounds more like he's collecting trophies. he's looking at his whole game in review in one of the extra videos, and it was really good because he talks about how he goofed early on, and you can tell he's like building his jury story already because he's considering his whole game arc and how it reflects on what happened in his life and the hard start and all of that. So they're definitely worth checking out. Make sure to check the show notes for the links if you're not familiar with how to find some of those. Thanks again, Tina. Next up, we got a call from Nicola.
Hello, Stacy and all my fellow Survivor fans. Hi, Joanne. I'm sure you're going to be listening to this. Just wanted to let you know that everyone here in our house is thinking about you and your family, and it's just a tough time. We're just sending you lots of love and light your way and your family's way. And I won't have Jackson this week, unfortunately. But anyway, I just wanted to jump on and say how much I really enjoyed the episode. There was a couple things that kind of stuck out for me. I mean, well, of course, the immunity challenge, the first one that went over 5 hours long, was just incredible. I mean, I can't even imagine. I would have been eating the nachos because there was no way. Once I saw that, I would have been like, yeah, probably last like 5 minutes. So that was pretty incredible. Nick finding the idol was kind of, I mean, he had to kind of sneak out a little bit, but it really wasn't that hard once he got there. He didn't have anything extra to do. It was just stuck on a pole on the beach with a light on it. I did think it was really odd that no one ever said anything, or it wasn't addressed in the story about the group who went on the first reward getting letters from home. Like, we saw it, we saw their reactions and everything, and heard some of the excerpts from their letters, but after that, it was like it didn't happen there. I don't know if they chose not to tell everybody else back at camp or what, but anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. First vote out, I was excited because I had Alec going, so it's a vote out point 2 weeks in a row.
Yay,
it's a record for this season for me. And then the second hour came, and I just still befuddled about the Davids worked so hard to get the majority that why would they vote Carl off? It makes no sense whatsoever. Now they're back even again. Well, I think looks like it's going to be a good move for Gabby. I don't think it'll be a good move for Christian, and he's my new USB. But I don't get it. They worked hard to get the majority, like I said, and then they go and blow it the first chance they get. And yep. Christian should have been able to rein Gabby in for at least one more vote, and then they would have been free and clear. So anyway, can't wait for next week to see what happens. We're just a couple weeks away from the finale. And thanks again for everything that you do. And Stacy, I look forward to hearing everybody else's feedback. Have a great weekend, guys. Cheers.
All right. Thanks, Nicola. Yeah, there's plenty of extra videos where the castaways that got their letters talk about it. And I think you're probably right in that they do withhold that information because it's so emotionally charged. And to share that with the other folks, to let them know that they missed out on that opportunity. I wouldn't want to bring that pain to them, even though I wasn't a competition with them. I wouldn't want to, I guess you could look at it another way, you wouldn't want to foster that kind of resentment. But there's the extra videos really good on hearing more details behind it and the significance to each of the castaways that did receive that as part of the reward. And I think Gabby is the answer for why Christian was willing to do that, which is unfortunate. I think we're seeing the downfall in progress. Thanks again, Nicola. Next up, we got an email from Jack in California. First of all, I'm sorry for your loss, Joanne. I know it is a sad time for you. Thank you, Jack. That 2-hour episode was great, and this season is going to be one for the records for sure. It is smart play to hunt for idols in the early morning because not everyone is up, and it's a great way to not cause suspicion depending on how quick you are with the search. I can see how receiving letters from home means a lot to the contestants after not seeing them for a long time. For me, receiving a letter would light a fire to finish the game strong. Yeah, you can see that impact it had on several of them. There are two things I've learned in this episode, and that is if you share a secret with Carl and beers are available, you put your trust in the wrong person. I can see why Carl was voted out, and I wouldn't say I'm surprised about it. I'm glad I got rid of him when I had a chance. It's going to help your JSFL game for sure. For the challenges, it looked tough throwing those long poles and having it land perfectly on the rack. think that was before. But anyway, also for immunity challenge number 1, I know I probably couldn't last for 5.5 hours in that position. I also wouldn't have sat out for food, even if I haven't won any food rewards. It seems that Christian could be in trouble next episode, but I think he will squeeze by again because of his idol. That could indeed be the case. We'll see. Thanks, Jack. Good job. Next up, got a call from Parker. He's well enough to call in again. Yay.
Hey, it's Parker from Indiana, and that was a bit disappointing of an episode. Did Carl have a shot at winning this game? Maybe he got a vote from Davey, but I doubt he would have won. These 2-hour episodes, I'm expecting something big, and I think I only got 2 points in JSFL this week. I did terrible in JSFL this week. As soon as I started, really being a fan of Alec in this game, I've been dreading his exit episode because I've said that I don't think his exit is going to be why he posted that picture. I just think he made a dumb mistake, and I think this episode proves it. Him on the jury, he seemed fine, and him being voted off, he was all cool and stuff. So he took it more like John did and less like Dan did. So I haven't watched his Ponderosa yet, but that's the feeling I'm getting from it. Man, I feel like Jeff liked Alec too. Jeff's probably not that cool with him anymore. That first immunity challenge was amazing. Such a great fight, and see Christian win. Even though I wanted Alec to win because I had him safe. Christian has an idol, so if he was on the chopping block, he could save himself. Yeah, I feel like it was the wrong time for Alec to go. Nick has an idol. Good for you, Nick. That's awesome. I feel like Nick might win this season. Kind of seeing him rise to the top. Even though Christian is still my favorite player in this game right now, and that's mainly why I picked him as my USP. I wish I would have seen that Nick would be rising to the top. But oh well. I love this cast so much. The only people I don't like that much right now are Angelina and Allison. The rest I'm good with. So I'm really enjoying this season. This episode a little less good than it could have been, I feel like. Alright, that's all I got. See you guys next time.
Alright, glad to hear you speaking again and doing good there, Parker. I believe I've detected a causal correlation though. Your enjoyment of the episode is directly related to your JSFL performance. What do you think, buddy? All right, thanks, Parker. Next up, we got an email from Boo. Don't know where you're from, Boo. Let me know where you're from, buddy. Hi, Stacy. I'm really enjoying your show. Thank you. I have mixed feelings about where this season is going. I really liked Alec and wanted him to stay. Also, I think that David shouldn't have given up the majority because I'm not buying that the tribes have blurred. Actually, I feel like there is a very clear distinction between the tribes, and the only way the Davids were able to get back in the game was through using their advantages correctly. So it was disappointing to see the Davids take out a David. I feel like the Goliaths, Mike, Allison, Kara, are very tight, so I don't understand where Gabby and Christian fit in that alliance. I think you're right. Obviously, within that group of 5, Mike and Allison and Kara would take each other to the final 3. But I guess things can change. I don't trust the Goliaths, though. They have never really set out to take out another Goliath, except for Angelina with Alec's boot. But they have proven to Carl, she didn't feel like she got Carl's respect. And so this is something, and they even gave us that, in the previous episode, too. This is just something that's been boiling under the surface, well, as much as anything is with Gabby. And so she lashed out. And I don't know why for sure Christian followed, but he may have felt because she's his tightest alliance that he needed to keep something working there. I don't know. I'm looking forward to trying to figure out that riddle because it just doesn't seem like it's in his best interest, and with everything that's about to turn on him, it's going to be hard for him to endure. I don't know. Although the potential exists, we've seen that before where he wasn't in tune with what's going on in a threat, coming at him, like with what was going on back at the John vote that Nick seemed to be more perceptive about than Christian. But they blew it. They really blew it, and you can tell from the extra videos the Goliaths are going to capitalize on that. So I think you're spot on there. Thanks, Boo. Next up, got a call from KimJ.
Hey, Stacy. This is KimJ from Nashville. Question. Have they ever not gotten swimsuits before? on a season. I can't remember. They're on day 30 and they do not have swimsuits yet. I don't understand. Clearly they're not going to get their swimsuits this season. I don't know why they think this is compelling TV. I'm perfectly fine with him having another change of clothes. I'm perfectly fine with him having a jacket. I saw John Hennigan tweet to Tyler Perry this week asking him if he was behind the fact that they don't have any extra clothes this season. Apparently Tyler Perry thought that it would be a good idea for them not to have any extra clothes. I'm very puzzled as to why it is that Tyler Perry keeps getting ideas on the show. Like, why are they listening to Tyler Perry? None of his ideas are good ideas. Okay, rant over. I just want them to have their swimsuits. So on to this week's episode. So Angelina, I was not impressed with the negotiation. Jeff had apparently tweeted to Angelina that this was the best negotiation that he's ever had in 37 seasons of Survivor. Really? Really? Okay, whatever. We didn't get to see Dominic's negotiation for rice last year. And okay, maybe here's another rant. Stop giving them rice. Stop giving them more rice. Like, I know it's not compelling TV if they're starving, but they have to ration better. If you're just going to let somebody sit out of a challenge or let them get up pillows and blankets to give them more rice, then they're just going to do it every single season. Like, stop giving them more rice. That wasn't even a good negotiation. I'm totally with you, Stacey. I was not impressed. Anyway, on to this week's actual episode. I loved the endurance challenge. I miss those so much. I can't remember the last time that we had a challenge go that long. I totally thought that Alec was going to pull a Joe and pass out. Kudos to Christian for hanging in there for 5.5 hours. I've seen a lot of people online say they wanted some of that uncut footage of Christian just going on and on and on again for hours. I do think that would be pretty funny too. I'd also like some secret scenes of how Angelina got in with the Davids. I feel like that's a plot twist that we're just like totally missing right now. I don't exactly understand how that happened. So I totally understand Gabby's move to flip the game, because she was clearly on the bottom and she definitely had to make that move. Christian, however, I'm not sure that was a smart move for him. He does have the idol for protection, and so that does help, but I think Christian's kind of screwed any kind of way because no one is going to let him get to the end. I feel like anybody could win at this point. There's even a path for Angelina probably to win at this point, even though she's gotten a very strange edit. Who knows? We could see a Kara, Alice, and Gabby final. We could see a Nick win still, who I still think is probably the favorite. But anyway, I can't wait to hear what everybody else says. Miss you, Joanne. Prayers and thoughts and condolences all to you and your family.
Thanks, KimJ. Yeah, we definitely have seen him go, I think, to the family visit before, if I recall correctly. That your note about maybe they're not going to get him at all this time, because I was thinking, oh, finally they'll get him in episode 11, week 11, because of the family visit, because I do believe that happened once before. But I'm with you. I think they should have their swimsuits for the first water challenge. I don't think it adds anything to have all the the dreariness of the tattered clothes. I kept noticing that every extra video with Christian, you see his shirt's opened up on the side now. He's got this big rip on the right side of it, and his ribs are showing through. And I'd be fine with him having a different shirt too. So yeah, I'm with you. Good job. Thanks, KimJ. Next up, we got an email from Nathan in Portsmouth, Virginia. Hello, Joanne, Stacey, and Survivor fans. First and foremost, continued prayers for Joanne and all who loved her brother. Thank you very much. Here are two of my takeaways from last week's episode. One, this week was kind of the opposite of last season. I don't mean in the quality of the season, because unlike so many, I really enjoyed last season. I thought the way Dominic and Wendell dominated the game was fascinating. I understand those who might have seen it as boring, but I was somewhat in awe of the two who stayed in charge from the beginning to the end. Anyway, last season I kept wondering why no one made a move against Dominic and Wendell. Everyone was too scared to make a move. This episode, everyone was too scared to not make a move. I was wondering if we would see some type of rock draw as the Goliaths and the Davids voted along tribal lines to force a tie. I'm not sure why the Goliaths were so quickly ready to turn on one of their own and give the Davids the numerical advantage. And in the second vote, I was surprised to see the Davids, some of them anyway, so quickly give back that numerical advantage. Am I the only one who sees this week's two-part episode as the antithesis of last season, or do you get where I'm coming from? I understand what you're saying, and I don't think the reservations about Ghost Island last season had anything to do with the dominance necessarily of Dominic and Wendell. That was a truly impressive performance just like you're describing. That part of it was amazing to see that come together. It's the failed Ghost Island concept and how forced it was and how it kept up, goose egging us every time. It didn't deliver. And then the ineptitude of the other players. And so there was some pretty significant casting errors that basically were a byproduct last season. What I'm trying to say is there's different reasons than what you're saying, but I really enjoyed your analysis there. That's good. Okay, continuing on. 2, I think this 2-episode bundle was a great follow-up to the last few episodes. I loved the previous episodes and how idols and advantages plays such a huge part in shaping the game. It was exciting and it was entertaining to see how the Davids pulled together to make it happen. I really did enjoy it and think it will make for a memorable season. That being said, I was excited to see the typical Survivor strategy return in these episodes. The idols and advantages were incredible, but if the game had continued to be shaped in such a large part by them, it may have diluted the strategy that is normally needed to win. Idols and advantages that led to the strategy we saw this week pulled it all together. Speaking of strategy, I'm not sure voting out Carl was Christian's best move. That's definitely a theme this week. Carl, while perhaps annoying, would have been more than likely stayed solid with the Davids. Christian could have at least got one more Goliath out and then gone for Carl. Yeah, I agree, that would be the smart move. So the Davids would still have the numbers. Would it have hurt Christian's game to let Carl play the Godfather for one more vote? A great part of this season is that I have absolutely no clue who I think is going to win. Yeah, we always do seem to enjoy those a little more. It really seems wide open for anyone who's still left in the game. Well, with perhaps the exception of Angelina, who seems to drive everyone crazy. But she should make for that good third person to take to the end who won't get any votes from the jury. Bing! My last thought for this episode is that Carl gave me a great reminder of why I never drink alcohol. Yeah, all right. Good one. Thanks, Nathan. Next up, we got a call from David.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. It's David in Pittsburgh. I'm not sure where to begin. I did check in with you over Thanksgiving weekend because I was visiting my family in New York. But I will say that I appreciated your recap even more because my sister-in-law, who says she loves Survivor, talked through the entire episode. So unfortunately, I was distracted through most of the episode. This past Tuesday, I rewatched the last 20 minutes just to get a better sense of what did happen in the elimination of Dan. And you're right, Stacy, in this week's show, he did not look happy to be a member of the jury. And I also want to add my sympathy to Joanne for the loss of her brother. Anyway, on to this week's 2-hour episode. I was convinced Mike and Angelina would be going, both voted for Christian, while Alex and Kara didn't. So, as I should have guessed, both Mike and Angelina were safe, and Alex was voted out. By the way, on another podcast, when Alex was interviewed after his exit, he said that once Nick played his steal a vote, he and Kara quickly switched from writing down Christian to Angelina, and that Allison would have also voted for Christian if her vote hadn't been stolen. I'm beginning to wonder how strategic a player Christian actually is. Gabby seemed to be calling the shots. Once again, a team with numbers advantage ends up sacrificing their own. Christian keeps saying that Mike's a good actor who can't be trusted, that he helps the Goliaths eliminate a member of his alliance instead of the guy who broke their stealth alliance and then voted for Christian himself in the last episode. I've pretty much given up on Mike, making it to the final 3. Don't know if anyone trusts him now. On the same podcast where Carl was given an exit interview, he said he did feel betrayed by Christian, especially since he felt the alliance with Davey, Nick and him saved Christian several times. So I'll be interested in seeing how Nick and Davey feel about Christian now. And I have to say that we've seen a number of reversal decisions and the ramifications were minimal. Even Angelina, saying she could be a real bitch, proved to be able to work with some of the Davies. So I guess that's an indication that almost everyone is strategizing on their individual end game rather than letting a change vote here and there bother them. I mean, well, they're still here and one step closer to the $1 million. So I hope to talk to you guys next week. Hope, Joanne, you're back. Bye.
All right, thanks, David. Yeah, you can see it. There's a great secret scene in the extra videos where they break down what Alec and Kara were doing, and even Allison said that she was going to do that too if her vote hadn't been stolen. So yeah, there's some good content there, and you can see, like I mentioned, the part with Gabby building up for this turn that's coming. Well, that's already underway. And there's a really good extra video or two with Mike also talking about how he's playing and how it's working for him and who he's okay with at the end. Thanks again, David. Good job. Next up, we got an email from Sophie in Texas. Hi, Stacy and Joanne and all Survivor fans. Joanne, my deepest condolences for you and your whole family at this tragic time. Thinking of you all, it reminded me to reach out to family far away and to say I love them. Thank you, Sophie. This week, Nick impressed me. I'd love to see Nick, Davey, my USB, and Christian in the final 3. Well, you might get 2 out of 3, Sophie. Davey won in immunity and Christian too. Well deserved on Christian's part. He talked for 5+ hours and Alex's pain was evident. His ears seemed to give out before his legs and arms. Yeah, that's another case where the extra videos are pretty insightful. I think Christian broke Alec. I think he really broke him. And it seemed to have a huge impact on him when he didn't win that thing. And Christian did. Okay, back to Sophie. However, Davey seemed to just get lucky by copying Allison's word block. What do you think? I don't think it really played out quite like that he was copying Allison's. I'll have to go back and watch it. That's interesting. I had Carl and Allison chosen to go home, so managed 1 point there. Good job. Carl was too bossy and should have included Gabby. He really thought he was the Pied Piper playing a hypnotic tune for the rats to follow, but he was the one who eventually got drowned. First in beer, then at tribal. Out of all the girls, I'm enjoying Kara the most. She refuses to be anyone's ladder to the top. Meanwhile, Angelina's trying to wiggle her way back into social graces. Her attempt at more rice was ridiculous. I thought their trade was way too generous, and I would have started off a bit smaller. No way would I have offered any hammock chairs. Despite her efforts, I still find her annoying. I wonder if she'll stop all the slow eye rolls after watching herself back on TV. If she gets to the end and says, I deserve the $1,000,000 as I gave up my chance for immunity so that all the tribe could have rice, it won't work. They'll remember how she easily gave it up a few days earlier for nachos. That's a good point. Next week, I predict that Gabby targets Christian because it's family visit, and she gets a bit jealous seeing Christian with his partner of 13 years. The heart is treacherous and desperate. Well, that's a twist I didn't consider. Interesting. Do you think Christian would cut Gabby and vote her out if he learns of her betrayal? Or will the girls join up with Mike and form an army? Hopefully Nick will use his well-earned idol correctly. Who else has one? Christian? Yeah, Christian's got one. Take care all, and thanks for this Survivor Forum. All right, thank you, Sophie. We enjoy having you be a part of it. Next up, we got a call from Jody.
Hey Survivor family, it's Jody, and I'm meant to be doing an assignment, but I'm preoccupied with the happenings of the week and just wanted to say that Christian was amazing in that drawn out long immunity battle. I think, could this be the first time somebody has beaten a rival by boring the pants off them? Alec looked like he was just about to fall down semi-dead from all the chitter-chatter that Christian had going on. It was fantastic. I liked Nick's idol retrieval. I did think there'd be a little more to it rather than just go walkies in the night, but that was cool. Davey continues to deliver in his confessionals. He's just fantastic. Gabby had a win this week. I think her moving against Carl was just brilliant, and I hope she doesn't overstep the mark by slaying Christian this coming week. I'd just like them to stay together a little bit longer. I know it speaks volumes for her game if she's willing to pew down all the blokes around her, but I worry about why this move, why now, and why Christian went along with it, because he's so clever. Like, he sees all the levels of the gameplay. I think, while it's going on. But nobody seemed to be concerned that knocking out Carl took them back to an even 4-4 Goliath and David's. But maybe alliances have shifted to the point where that's not the biggest concern anymore. So, yes, I'm hoping that Gabby can get Alison and Cara together with another number. I don't even know who they'd bring in, and just get these ladies a little bit further in the game. So that's 4 blokes in a row now that have found their little perches over on the jury bench. Can the ladies keep going? I don't know. I keep forgetting that Angelina's a woman. I don't think that Gabby's going to be pulling her into a woman's alliance anytime soon. But, I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm really excited, and it's just great. I can't wait to do a rewatch. I wish I had time to do that now as we're going. But, yeah. Okay. All right. Bye now.
Yeah, this season's definitely going to be rewatchable, I think. Yeah. And I think Gabby's easily going to be able to turn a majority against Christian. It's the only trick is, can they hide it enough so they can blindside him and he won't play as idle yet. And you can see in one of the previews for next week already that Nick's not happy, and Davy's not going to be happy either, because just like Carl, they felt responsible for saving Christian multiple times. So that vote out of Carl, that's going to be seen as a huge betrayal. That one's going to be really hard for Christian to overcome. All right, thanks, Jody. Thanks for taking out time from that studying. Next up, we got an email from Josh the Plush Moose from Massachusetts. Dear Joanna and Stacy, this season keeps delivering. Unlike some other seasons where the 2-hour show was a way to burn off pagongings, we actually got 2 good episodes. 3 shows left, folks. That's right, only 3 more. This week's other observations. Angelina isn't a woman scorned. She's a scorched earth kind of gal. Yes, she is. I predict the Ventures will have a hit with their updated song, Goliath Sleep Tonight. Alec and Allison had a rap party. The theme was Party Till You Puke. Nick is lucky most folks don't get a prize for having insomnia. He is indeed. I laughed out loud when Alec called Christian a hot bar girl. Yeah, that was good. I forgot about that. If you didn't pause the show, go back and read Mike's letter from home. It's a hoot. I forget where I heard it, but the moniker Don Carleone fits to a T. I've heard of hot yoga and goat yoga. Allison practices barf yoga. First, a cop played like a criminal and won. Now a lawyer's attempting to follow suit. Yeah, yes, indeed. Christian blathering at captive audience Alec for 2.5 hours violated the Geneva Conventions. It did. Jeff promised the Nachos trio they could eat while the challenge lasted. Angelina should have negotiated for refills. Bing. Yeah, definitely bing with that. When I hear meat shield, I think of physically dominant alpha hiding behind other physical threats. It's weird to hear Christian using that term as his strategy. Was it me, or was Angelina ticked at the Nachos for stealing her spotlight? Davy's lucky his thunderous dunk didn't pop out any balls or break the apparatus. Carl would have gotten Hulk-level hungry if that had cost him his food and beer reward. I agree with Christian that you don't want your strategic planner to be half sloshed. With Carl in residence, Ponderosa had better stock up on beer. When it comes to negotiating, Angelina is no Monty Hall. Angelina's self-sacrifice set out a challenge you don't think you'll win. Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I'm sure the listeners have different perceptions as to whether Carl won the immunity challenge. I guess it's all a matter of perspective. Gabby, that's good. Gabby gets very emotional about being seen as being very emotional. I still don't get the Instagram thing. I wonder if an advantage costs Alec his jury slot. Angelina's really playing the Rice card. That's multiple levels, huh? Yeah. Next time the loved ones visit and Gabby wants Christian out, who'll talk her out of the Gabby Gulch if he goes? That would be nobody. Although Allison will pretend like it, I'm sure. Anyway, that's it for me for now. Thanks, Joanna, Stacy, for all you do. Can't wait to hear what the other fans have to say. Thank you, Josh. Crack me up as always. Next up, we got a call from Jill.
Hi, Stacey. Hi, Survivor fans, and big hugs to Joanne. We're thinking about you and all your family at this time. This is Jill from the Outback. This is such a good season of Survivor. I'm loving every episode of it, even the sort of mundane episodes where you know what's going to happen, like the Alec vote. They're still good. That immunity challenge was amazing. 5.5 hours. That's some effort. I can't lay down for 5.5 hours. So how they did that was just a mammoth effort. And it's funny that they keep calling Alec the challenge threat, where Christian beat him. So, maybe he's not the threat that they all made out to be. Carl in that second episode was funny. It's really amazing, and it happens every year that once the underdog team gets that bit of power, like the Davids have done, they turn into the Goliaths, and they're the ones sort of pushing around and see what Carl did, sit on the lounge or on the hammock and wait for everyone to come to him. It's funny how it happens every season. Is there more alcohol this season? It just seems that every time there's some sort of reward that everyone gets a few grogs, and obviously the conditions that they're in, hardly any food, it's going to affect them a whole lot more, and it really did with him. Didn't do him any favours at all, I don't reckon. I wonder how Nick and Davey are going to see Christian and Gabby voting against them. If that's going to split the Davids for good.
Yep.
Although when you see the previews for next week and Gabby gunning for Christian, she's about to become the most hated woman in Survivor history, I think. But I can't help thinking that might be a bit of a red herring. Maybe she has a bit of a talk with a few people about it, but I just don't think they'd show us that straight off if it was all going to work out for her. It'll be good to see next week if the Goliaths sort of get their power back. Like with you got Mike and Alison and Cara especially. Like they voted together this week, so they could keep that up, drag in a couple. You never know what they could do. That'll do me for now. Get this in on time. Thanks so much, Joanne and Stacey, for all you do. Happy days, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Jill. Yeah, as long as he gets wind of it, he'll be there for another episode at least, right? Even if everyone turns against him. Imagine what the buildup will be if he's able to win an immunity or find another immunity necklace after that as we head towards the finale. If somehow Christian's able to hang on like that, man. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he weathers the storm that's coming, because they are all out to get him. Thanks, Jill. Next up, we got an email from Jen in California. Hi, everyone. I need to type this week rather than send in my voice, so here are my thoughts on the double episode. I thought this was going to be a week of easy vote-offs. My predictions were that Angelina and Mike would be targeted as the path of least resistance for the David Alliance. Boy, was I wrong. I understand the temptation for eliminating Alec as soon as possible, and the immunity challenge performance between him and Christian magnified his threat level tenfold. So the unanimous Alec vote made complete sense. No one wanted their ship to go down with Alec, so it was a smart move on the Goliath's part just to let him go. Although there's an extra video with Allison, and it really, she was having a lot of trouble with it. So you could see it wrecked her pretty hard, but she came to the conclusion you're describing. As for voting out Carl, I think that decision was a bit premature for Gabby and Christian. Unless Gabby can rally some Goliaths to her side, she may have just made herself very vulnerable. And targeting Christian may have severe consequences if he is able to protect himself with his hidden immunity idol. Boy, I think you're right. There could be a big boomerang effect, huh? That does seem to be the obvious conclusion. As for Christian, he is so consistent with running the numbers and evaluating his advantage in the game. I have to think that he sees a viable path for himself to final tribal council that doesn't require Carl. I would be interested in hearing more from Christian on why he chose to vote out a David rather than gain a solid advantage by eliminating a Goliath. And speaking of Christian, his endless talking during the immunity challenge will be something we talk about for a long time. The edit on that was so funny and so well produced. I can't imagine what it was like to be there to listen to him go on in an endless stream of consciousness. He had that challenge locked down. I commend Alec for his Herculean effort, but I am in awe of Christian. That immunity challenge will be remembered right next to Tom and Ian's final immunity challenge in Palau. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, that's it for me. I can't gauge my time on paper as well as I can by recording, so I'll end right here. Looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts. This season continues to deliver till next week. Thanks, Jen. You did great. Next up, we got a call from Paul.
Hey, Paul in Louisiana here. And first off, of course, Joanne, we are so very sorry. Words just don't cover it, and I even feel guilty about turning in feedback knowing that you're hurting. Hopefully Survivor can distract your mind, even if just for a minute or two. Our hearts go out to you and your family. So, about Survivor, well, all I can say is, sorry, Carl, but you have to ask everyone what they think, even if you think they agree with you. He may very well have not been trying to act like a dictator, but everyone wants to know that they have a voice. That said, I'll never believe that move was the best way for Christian to go. And that was even before I saw the previews. It looks like Christian has helped create a new godfather, or should we call Gabby the godmother? Well, yeah. I'm jumping an episode ahead here, but if Gabby ousts Christian, who will reel her in so she can make it to the next tribal council? Because that girl is always a mess. Okay then, so the line of the week goes to Angelina for asking, is she doing yoga? I now have another Survivor catchphrase that covers, of all things, someone being sick. Neat, huh? And as a movie buff who loves different camera angles, I have to say that I loved the scene where Christian had his cameraman behind him while he was talking to Alec. Alec himself wasn't in the shot, but he was perfectly reflected in Christian's glasses, which gave the appearance that they were in the scene together. Okay, geek mode off. So did anyone else feel that Angelina's opening offer for more rice gave away everything? I mean, talk about surrendering Dorothy. I'm surprised she didn't offer up her firstborn as well. And taking the fishing equipment seems, I don't know, counterproductive to me. It's almost like saying, you don't have to work for your food, we'll just give you enough rice. I don't know, it seemed lazy to me, and to be perfectly honest, I wasn't really impressed with Angelina's negotiating skills. It was presented nicely, sure enough, but that's all it was. Had she left something out of her opening offer, they would have had more to bargain with instead of having to give up a shot at immunity. And I was fairly sure that we were headed to the classic no good deed goes unpunished vote off for Angelina after that. But I'm sure that'll come up later on in the season for sure. But you know what I'm most disappointed by? The fact that Jeff didn't tell Angelina that if she threw in a few jackets, well, she could have the rice. So next to go, well, I'm sure that Allison is going to flip back to the Goliaths. Will Angelina? If she's smart, she'll go with the numbers and not consider herself to be the swing vote against Christian, who I'm worried about after seeing those previews. He and Gabby could very well turn out to be Samson and Delilah. Yeah, he's got an idol, but he's completely trusting of Gabby, so I may very well pick him to go. And if that happens, well, I'll love watching Gabby melt away in tears with no one to comfort her. And I'll tell you what, Mike's position is looking better and better. But I want Nick to win at this point. Can Gabby reunite Angelina with the old Goliaths? If so, Christian's goose is cooked. And that's it for me. Take care, everyone. Bye. Oh, and of course, hugs to you, Joanne. Bye.
Thanks, Paul. It's Carl's Ponderosa video. One of the things that he talks about, because, they like it when the people reflect and what they've learned and all that. He talks about how much he's seeing his wife in a different light and how he feels like he probably took her for granted. It's a thing that comes up a lot when you get separated. It helps you refocus and look at things from a different perspective through a different lens. We saw how Carl got along with Elizabeth, where we've learned how Carl got along with Gabby, and he may not have valued them enough in the context of the game, very similar to how he had a skewed perspective even of his wife, who he was thrilled, and he does end up getting to see the Ponderosa video with Carl. Alec and Carl get to, their loved ones. Alec's mom's there, and so that's definitely one worth watching too. But you can potentially see that Carl may, in his relation to women, have had some issues there, and hopefully he's learned something from that process. So you can see how that was obviously having an impact on Gabby. I don't think it had as much on Elizabeth, other than he turned people against Elizabeth. Elizabeth could care less. She's much more independent-minded and thick-skinned than Gabby in that regard. And Gabby's aware of that about herself, and she seemed to have an awakening in one of the extra videos where she was talking about how she knew all those things. Oh, she was talking about her family letters. That's what it was. And how their confidence in her helped her focus, and it highlighted and showed her that she needed to have that kind of confidence in herself. So it's like the family letters and the way things had happened in the dynamic between her and Carl, it all just sort of culminated, and she made this move. I think it was purely emotional, but it was, the catalyst was some of these other aspects that you hear talk about in the video, and her perception of herself, and the overall impact that ended up having on her. And I think Christian must have just got dragged along in that. It didn't help with Carl summoning people over to talk to him where he could tell them how to vote. Obviously, that would just be like a 1-2 punch to make it easier to get rid of him. But yeah, I agree with you guys. It just seems like a mess of a decision for Christian, and it's going to be. I'm fascinated to see how this is going to work itself out, and see if he's going to get wind or if he's going to end up leaving with an idol in his pocket. Because they know he's savvy. They've all talked about it. So they would have to be super, super safe, or, to not highlight him to the fact that they're going to go for him. And everybody seems to be gunning for him. So, yeah, I'm excited to see how that plays out this week. Will Christian survive? And then where does that really leave Gabby, like some of you were talking about? Yeah, she can make that call. She could potentially take him out, and it's even taking Carl out like that, leading that charge was big for her. She's got an actual resume, unlike Angelina. But where will it go from there? I'm willing to bet some of the folks would go to the end with Gabby because they don't think she's got a good story. The whining, the crying, the emotional roller coaster part is hard to sell in the end. I think she's building a story. She's a smart lady. She knows what she's working with. She knows what she's working to overcome. But would it be enough? Interesting to see. If she takes Christian down, Carl and then Christian, that's a pretty good story for an end game for sure. If someone would be willing to take that risk and go with her to the end, that'll be interesting. More than likely, though, they'd just vote her out right behind Christian, I think. All right. What a great listener feedback show. Thank you. I want to thank everybody who took the time to write in or call in or record your audio, and making that time even when you got a lot of stuff going on like Jody and other folks here. We deeply appreciate it and enjoy it. We love hearing how you felt about the episode. I want to say a big thanks to Christy and Hazel for your continued monthly donations. Thank you so much for helping out with the podcast expenses. We greatly appreciate that. Also, big thanks to Shirda Lama 71 for your iTunes review. That's another great way to help support the podcast. And I really liked what you said about how the listener feedback shows like a big family getting together to talk about each week's episode. Yeah, I think that's a great characterization of what it's like here, and we've been having a great time this season on the listener feedback shows. If you play GSFL, don't forget to get your picks in before the deadline, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on Wednesday. This week it'll just be 4 safe picks and 1 vote out, back to the normal. But do you have enough safe picks? Did you play your safe picks wisely? Are you going to be able to last out for a few more episodes? I know I am, but hope you're okay. Have a good one.